happy Wednesday! Our live episode of What's Up Doc, but now this is streamed via Youth or YOUTH, which stands for Youth Outreach United to Help TV network in this online platform. And at the same time, you can view this in LCF Essentials PH and also in my other page, which is Perfect at Last Health, Perfect at Last Weight, Health, and Wellness. So those are my pages, and you are also viewing this live from my page, Dr. Josephine Grace Chua Rojo. That page was specifically made for the books that I wrote. So the books that I wrote, the first one would be this, The Perfect at Last Weight, with a subtitle, An Evolutionary Perspectives Guide on Attaining an Ideal Body Weight the Fastest, Most Natural Way. The second one would be the Perfect at Last Health, how to eat or what to eat in order for us to heal. Because as you know, or you might not know, actually a lot of the diseases we have today, a lot of the lifestyle diseases we have today that have killed way more than the COVID did in the past year. This lifestyle diseases has been killing people in millions for the last 3 decades. So we have to address that, and basically the food that we eat, our lifestyle, the frequency of when we eat and how we eat even has something to do with all these diseases. And in this book, it is going to teach you exactly what to eat, what kind of foods to avoid, and at the same time to do a proper that can actually mimic our normal or proper human diet. And last but not the least, this may not be directly related to your weight or to your health, but actually it is more than that. It is an overall that will help you or anyone, and even myself, to read this, and I find it amusing that I feel like I am learning from the stuff that I wrote myself. So this is the third book. It's the closest one to my heart because, as one of my friends said, Chloe from Japan, she understood very well why book 3 is closest to me, because it is really like a summary of who I am as a friend, as a daughter, as someone close to another person. It is like me being there to everyone around me or everyone that I care about, but I cannot do so simply because I do not have the luxury of time to spend as much time as I want with the people that I care about, and to the rest of the world whom I really want to spend some time at least to lighten up their day. So since I can't do that, I made it into a book. That's why hopefully in a way you will feel that I am there for you. That's actually one of the most common impressions whenever first readers get to read this. They have this idea and tendency that they feel like I am speaking in front of them. So book 3 is actually like somewhat me wrapped into a book. So if you haven't got the copies of these yet, I encourage you to do so. If Amazon version, so this is quite big, so you know big enough, so you can pair this with my face, so it's really quite big. So I hope you get to have these books. Of our beloved doctor said, Dr. Venus, she said that these books will help you. It's really life-changing, and that's even the reason that that's why I wrote books, because it's changing for me, that it's just impossible to keep it for myself. I have to share it with my loved ones first to confirm that it's really true, it's not damaging, it's something unadulterated. As what I always say, it is something so pure, so genuine, that no one else can benefit from this but you. And even if you have to buy this, if you follow everything in here in just a span of 1 day or 2 days even, you can get all your money's worth just by changing your mindset. That is how powerful the ideas in these books are, summarized in a very simple manner, reader-friendly manner, that even non-medical people, laymen, can. I'm trying to derive, especially when it comes to health and wellness, because I believe we were taught wrong. It is not intentional, of course, by even by our doctors, us in medical school. functional, that we were not taught the when it comes to health and wellness. It is something out of the box for those who not know carb nutrition, and at the same time the incorporation of fasting in our day-to-day. So today I will discuss, and we shall discuss, if you have your own experience, encouraging you own thoughts in the comment section, so that eternally look into this video, your thoughts. A technical glitch. I hope our connection is okay now. We are still setting up, so as you can see, it's a new background for me. I'm actually here in my clinic, so we are just starting to set this up, and I hope you're still there. And if not, don't worry, this video will be saved and is easily accessible right here in my page, Dr. Josephine Grace Chua Rojo, and soon it will also be available in my own YouTube channel. My name, the same way, it will be uploaded there, and I hope you can get to see them. You can access them easily and comfortably should you need certain topics, certain conditions that we have discussed in the previous videos. So right now, again, our topic is what to do after you reach your goal weight. So that is a common question that I get to ask, especially from the readers of the book and from other practitioners of low carb way of life, and at the same time incorporation of fasting into our day-to-day. What to do? What's your goal first? And how did you know that you already have met your goal? Okay? So I hope you are there. If you have any questions, feel free to put them into the comment section, so that we can know that you are all here. So thank you so much, Verse Ali, and good evening to you, Shell Martos. Thank you so much. The previous episode was cut because of a technical problem, but right now I hope this is going to be okay. Hello, EJ. Very good smiling emoji from you is already way better than nothing. Of course, thank you so much for always being there, for entertaining me, and especially whenever we at the wee hours of the night. So because as you know, I am a night owl, meaning I sleep very late at night. I actually function very well, very much at the wee hours of the night. I'm not a morning person. I'd rather envision myself sleeping in the early morning rather than awake and getting up. I know it is different from one person to another, and if you I understand if you will disagree to that, but it's also been tackled in my book 3, why other people function more during daytime. You know, the early birds, the early risers, while there are others who thrive at the wee hours of the night. As for me, I feel like I am most functional, most productive whenever I feel like the world is already sleeping. So I have my own thoughts, that moment of silence, that moment of solitude. I can think for so many things, so many ideas, and so many other thoughts that I am not capable of thinking because of the noise of the daytime. So that's why I love staying up late at night. But don't worry, I still get the enough sleep that I need, as long as I don't have that much responsibility early in the morning. I usually stay late. I wake up late until maybe 9 in the morning or up to 10 if it's the weekend. So that is for me. And hello, Eleanor. I know for Eleanor and EJ, they've already reached their goal weight. So before I answer this topic, you can also share your own experiences. What are you doing now since you've reached your goal weight? How long did it take you before you reach your goal weight? That is your goal weight from your starting weight. Usually people will put it as SW as starting weight, and then CW as current weight, and GW as goal weight. But as we've discussed in the previous video, the intro of this video that was cut, weight is not the only gauge of good health, you know. But I understand that weight loss and improvement of weight can be the best motivation for some. I myself started with just weight loss, but right now, as per our series, first with the weight, once you've achieved your goal weight, you can already start with your goal health. And by the time you are starting deeper into the practice of low carbohydrate nutrition, and at the same time intermittent fasting or extended fasting, you will really understand that weight is just superficial. Weight is just the starting point. So the first step, actually, once you get to your weight, to your goal weight, is to just continue what you are doing. Okay, if you've been doing that and still continue losing weight, you can just adjust little by little. Say for example, on your eating window or your carbohydrate intake, you can still maintain that, or you can just add additional low carb meals on your day for you to not lose below the BMI, or the basal metabolic index of undernourished category, which is 18.5 and below. So maybe a BMI of around 18.6 would make you look like a supermodel, so that is good if you want that, of course. But others actually look good with a little more stuff, especially for women. For men, you can have an allowance of an increased BMI, given that you are also on the bulkier, muscles, athletic side, okay? Because by nature, men will weigh heavier than women because of the muscle bulk. Seldom you can see women with muscles, but it's no longer uncommon because a lot of women are now going to the gym, doing some home workouts, and actually increasing their muscle mass. Just like our good friend and our moderator also in Life Without Rice, IC Dingkong. I'm so proud of you getting back in shape, and at the same time continuing your very, very sporty attitude, your training before and discipline, and now rolled it into one because of proper diet and proper fasting. She's been doing alternate day fasting. I think we started that last November, and she is continuing that now, and I'm so happy for everybody who is still on board, still on the Swagon, and is also joining the very popular challenge of January, which is the Balik Loob challenge, or getting back in the Wagon challenge. So that challenge is like going back to our way of life that we promote, which is the low carb feasting or low carb nutrition, meaning lower carbohydrate intake, but with incorporation of fasting in our day-to-day lives. So Nes Duhenya Sagadal, hello, good evening to you, and thank you so much for watching. Rhea Salamanca, Marby, of course, watching from Batangas. Oh, you usually work at nights. I think me and Marby really got a lot in common. So we are night owls, and we usually love the same food. Good thing that low carb meal plans are usually the foods that we eat already like and love, even before we knew that fats is good, especially the healthy ones, especially the natural ones, including pork fats and other rendered animal fats like chicken skin and even lard and tallow and all of those. So these are good fats, and of course, but you take it in moderation. You don't need to take it the whole day, 3 times a day, because as what we always say, no matter how good you eat, but if you eat very, very often, very, very frequently, it still won't do so much good, because our body actually really need a break from any intake whatsoever. That's why we put emphasis on the importance and the need to do fasting whenever we can. So Gina de Guzman Menezes, hello, namaste, namaste. I really love the word namaste. For those of you who don't know namaste, so namaste is usually the greeting we say whenever we're starting, like, is it Hindu or but practice in mostly in the culture, in Indian culture. So they say the meaning of namaste is like the God within me is greeting the God within you. So the idea is each of us, part of us is God. So since God created us, a part of God is within us. So all the good things in me, all the good side in me is greeting all the good side in you. So that's why I really, really love the word namaste and how we use that as a greeting, usually to common when you're doing yoga or doing some disciplines with related to Indian culture and Hinduism and Buddhism partly. I'm not really very sure. So something like that. So Sin John, hi, thank you so much for watching. And yes, we thank you so much, both of you, for watching. And Chat Pineda, watching from SG. So that's Singapore. I love Singapore. Singapore is like the best layover in the world. It's like a layover that actually already feels like a tour, even if it's just 5 hours of layover. I've had layover in Singapore for 5 hours, and I get to visit Universal Studios in that 5 hours and get to enjoy some rides and get to see so many other places. So I really love Singapore. I hope you are safe and sound and enjoying the happenings there. I'm not very updated on what's going on there COVID wise, but I hope all of us are adjusting very well with this pandemic. And of course, one of the best thing for us to have peace of mind in this pandemic is the idea that you are no longer part of the vulnerable group, meaning those group that might worsen or might manifest badly with COVID-19 simply because our immune system is not that good. But if we only continue to incorporate intermittent fasting, even extended fasting from time to time, and also low carb feasting, continue sticking to low carb diet, you can still have sleep, you can still have a peace of mind, and you'll be able to sleep well at night, knowing that even if COVID will come to you, to your place, to your workplace, to your home, even to your own person, you know you can overcome it. It will just pass by like a flu, or you won't even have any symptoms, because majority of people who will get infected with COVID-19 will actually not manifest any symptoms. So we cannot put anything to chance. It's better for us to be equipped, to be very, very secure with the idea that no matter what happens, our immune system is good enough to combat it. So, of course, Ayang Blanquera, thank you so much. I know Ayang has also reached her goal weight. So, Ayang, if you have tips, what are you doing now? What do you do? How long did it take you before you reach your weight? What's your starting weight? What's your current weight, and when did you achieve your goal, and what have you been doing? So first, before we discuss what to do when you reach your weight, we have to do a little background for those who are first time listeners to this live video. Welcome to this episode. Welcome to my page and to the page of Youth TV Network, Youth Outreach United to Help TV Network. It is an international network, online based, that has partners, even other medical practitioners in Sri Lanka, in India, in USA, and even in Europe. So we would like to say hi to all of our friends and partners there who are, of course, supporting us and watching us as well. So first, goal weight. So again, it will be different from person to person. So for others, reaching a goal weight would just be enough to have a normal BMI. So say for example, like my brothers who has a height of 5'7" to 5'8", I think. I've got 3 brothers, but the first one, Bapi, is our special brother with special needs. So his height, I think, is just around 5. So he's like even if he's older than me, we treat him as our baby forever. He has Down syndrome, so he's mostly dependent on us. So even if he is older than me, I treat him as my baby brother, but he knows in his heart that I'm his youngest sister, and he still feels that somewhat he is responsible for me. So whenever he has treats or he has something extra, he really leaves something for me. So that's really very very sweet of him. So his height is just around 5 or maybe 4'10". So he's quite short, and his weight is just around 50 kilograms. So 48 to 50 kilograms. So his BMI is somewhat normal. So it's just ranging from 19 to 20. And my other brothers who weigh 72 to 75 kilograms is also within the normal BMI. So it's up to you, as long as you reach the normal BMI level. But we have another gauge. So especially for men, what we usually advise is to not so much mind on the weight, unless of course you are 100 kilograms and is no taller than 5'10", for example. So you know that's already quite overweight, so you can lower it down if achieving weight is easier as compared to, say for example, the waistline to height ratio. So the waistline to height ratio is actually somewhat we promote as a better gauge for health, not just the weight. So the best indicator of good health is the trunk, the obesity in the trunk. There is what we call as central obesity, or the fat deposition, the fat deposits mostly on the trunk, in the abdominal area, in our abdomen. So it's mostly in our belly. It's covering the organs, the internal organs, the very important internal organs. So they are called visceral fats, as compared to the fats, for example, in our arms, in our legs, in our buttocks, in our face even, or even in our neck. Those fats are called peripheral fats. And by cardiovascular risk, or the risk for heart attack or stroke or illnesses in, say for example, in our bloodstream, in our blood vessel health, these are highly directly correlated with the amount of visceral fats rather than peripheral fats. So it is more important to put emphasis on the truncal obesity or the waistline. So by ideally, your waistline should be no more than half of your height. So if your height is 60 inches, that's 5, most height for women, your waistline should be no bigger than 30 inches. So actually that's quite still not really small, but that is actually have an allowance. So if you know the Coca-Cola figure, as what they say, for women it's 36, 24, 36. So that's really small, and that's actually not very realistic for many people. And that kind of measurement is something that we should not strive for vanity alone, for physical aspect alone, because that waistline, that ratio was actually patterned from a doll that is like Barbie. So Barbie, you know, is a doll, is a man-made doll that is not really realistic in terms of figure. And if you just do that for the sake of appearance, it is not sustainable, because your happiness index might be a little high to reach. So it's better to do a realistic figure. So just enough, at least half, or not going beyond half of your height for your waist. So if once you reach that, you can still improve. So you know you can still improve that. So if you want to look even better, or if you want to fit in smaller clothes, like in size 0, extra small, or petite size, for whatever reason that you have, say for example, you've always been in that size and you don't want to throw your old clothes because you know you can still fit in them. So that's good enough reason. What is important is you know your reasons, you know your goals, and you know how to do it. So goal-wise, you can use the BMI chart. So you just type in BMI, basal metabolic index, for example, your height, and Google will answer everything. If you don't know, I will Google it for you right now, right here, right now. If you want, you can put in your height, and I will tell you the range of your weight for height ratio for a normal BMI. Another gauge, of course, would be like sizing. So if you want to have at least, like for some, I know a lot which started with 2XL in terms of size. There's even 3XL in terms of size, and now can fit into medium-sized clothes and even small-sized clothes. And they really look good, and most importantly, they feel a lot better. And their confidence and everything else, their outlook, their peace of mind is also improving. So that is something that I want for each and everyone to have. So once you have established your goal, that's the time that you will start doing what needs to be done in order to achieve that. So there's just two things that we always say whenever there is a goal in terms of health. Of course, health, that's the topic of our second book, Perfect at Last Health, Eat to Heal. And even if it's just weight, it's up to you. There's still two things that you need to know, two most important things whenever you need to improve your weight, and it's mostly directly related to food, okay? To our intake of food. Because why food? Why lifestyle? I always get asked why I don't focus on exercise. And as I always say, exercise is good. It can make your mental health improve. It can make your body get used to stress, because exercise is, of course, stress is a form of stress. But our health and our wellness and actually our weight is dictated more by our food intake, up to 95%. And a little part of that, maybe 5, it can go as high as 10 to 15%. That could be dictated by exercise. But by nature, people actually don't exercise. You know, the idea of exercise just came about in the last century. It's not even part of the norm. But of course, I understand we have to incorporate exercise, because we are already living in this modern world wherein hard labor, wherein physical exertion is no longer part of the common or popular things that people do when it comes to livelihood. Say for example, before, there are a lot of us who were farmers, who were miners or whatever, really physically draining task. And most of us now have office jobs, like in BPO industries, in the banks, in offices, even me in clinics. And even if I do operations, I get to stand for the whole 8 or 10 hours, but I am actually not lifting anything heavy. I just stand there, and the only thing that's working are the edges of my hands and my brain and my eyes. That's all. Those are the only muscles that are working. So the most developed muscle that I actually have are my hands. I think I have quite a strong hands, and you can see it quite strong and not really beautiful because it's a working hand, but I'm proud of my working hand, and that is something that we can learn from. That's why exercise is important also. But when it comes to health and wellness, since we already know that exercise is good and you can do it if you want to, but what I would like to emphasize on is the importance of eating. So there's only two things. So that is knowing what to eat, okay, the components of what foods to eat and when to eat. So there's only two things, what to eat and when to eat. So we will check that. And before we continue, Rolando Hardiolin, hello, happy new normal year. Of course, you're already having a new normal year. Thank you so much, sir. Sir Rolando was my dad's schoolmate way back in elementary, I think, or in high school, up to high school. And I'm so happy he got to reach out, and I told my mom, and it's good to hear some stories about your parents, especially when they were young, that you didn't get to know them before. Maria Clofe Albana Saral, hello, thank you so much for watching. And as per Ayeng said, started December 1, 2019, so already have fasting anniversary by December 1. Achieved my goal weight around April, May, so that is around 4 to 5 months. That's actually quite normal experience or journey. as early, I think the fastest I've seen reaching their goal weight was a month, less than a month, just 3 weeks. But it's made up of extended fasting, not much, not just intermittent fasting. It's strictly low carb and extended fasting. But to each his own, as we always say. So it's good that you've shared your journey. And 5 months went cold turkey on high carb, very strict OMAD for 5 months, 23:1 or 24:1 ratio. So 24:1, that's actually that's almost like EF. Okay, so that's really OMAD, strict OMAD. Starting weight 78. Wow, 78 to 80 kilograms. Current weight 55. Again, I gained 4 kilos last holiday season. Goal weight 54 to 55. So that's okay. That's really okay. Waistline 36 inches down to 29. Wow, that's good. You know, you already have an allowance with 5'4" in height. So you have 32. Is it right? You can have as high as 32, and your risk for cardiovascular diseases is not still high. Okay? So right now, after New Year, started December 2, back to OMAD. Weekends 23:1, weekdays TMAD, or 2 meals a day, 8 and 6. I don't really put a lot of pressure on myself now. That's good. I'm so happy for you. I think this is what EF taught me, to take my time. Go with the flow. I enjoy the fasting as much as I enjoy feasting. That is really good. Thank you for sharing that. And for those who are into extended fasting, that is fasting for more than 24 hours in a day. So I usually do that. Maybe 48 to 72 hours, at least a month, at least once a month I do that. And daily fasting, of course, minimum of 18 hours, normally 19 to 20 hours, because I get to be very busy and I no longer intentionally prepare my food. I just eat whatever is there, and if there's no food, I know I can fast. So that is how easy it is. So as per goal weight, we can learn from Ayeng's experience. So you can just continue doing your low carb way of life. So if you've been into low carb way of life, you know that sticking to it will just continue whatever experience you already are doing, and doing your IF schedule. Sticking to your IF schedule can give you your idea on what works for you best when it comes to your daily work schedule per se, and your family schedule, because I understand family is everything to us. So we also would like to think that the schedule will fit our family, because we would like to enjoy more time together, eating time together, especially when it comes to their schedule. Say for example, we know one of our moderators, Miss Rosette Baldo. She usually schedule her fasting schedule and enough to end it whenever her husband will come from work, or will have a day off, or is no longer working. So that's a really good way to do it, in order for it to become more sustainable. So if by the time that you already reach your goal weight, that is already, only you can say what you can do next. But certainly you can just stick to your current schedule. You just continue what you're doing, because more often than not, you can observe if it's plateauing, then for at least 2 weeks, so most likely you are already in your, what we call as, weight set point. So you can maintain that weight for 2 to 4 weeks. So you can have your weight set point on that current weight of yours, to maintain that, so that a little intake, for example, you will still go back to that weight set point. So you just maintain that in about, to be safe, 4 weeks time. And after 4 weeks, if you are still losing weight, or if you still continue to lose weight, then that's the time that you can adjust your IF schedule. So for example, if you've been fasting for 18 hours, you can try to shorten it into 17 hours. And if you are continually losing, you can adjust your meal eating time. So if you are eating just 2 regular meals, maybe you can just add 1 light snack, so that you can add a little bulk on what you eat, and you still stay low carb. What is important for me is, before you try jumping into the idea that once you've reached your goal weight, you can already jump back to your high carb eating. You can already celebrate and indulge with desserts and so many other sweets. I hope you don't get to make that mistake, because it will just make it harder for you to get back. Because once you do that, the activation of sugar cravings, of carbohydrate cravings, will all go back once again, and you can possibly start back to zero. But of course, we know it's never gonna be zero, because this time you already have the knowledge, you already have the experience, and most importantly, you already have the track record to prove that you can do it. You did it, and you can always do it again. So that is very important. But as for maintenance, what you can do is first continue. If you're plateauing, so if you plateau for 4 weeks, so that's good, meaning you already find what we call your sweet spot, okay? Your sweet spot, meaning the one that will suit your best as maintenance. So mostly for women, it is in general, I'm not saying that it's good for you, but by general, I mean most popular that I get as feedback from the readers of the book is they maintain on 18 hours of fasting. The shortest they do is 16. As for men, it is usually 14 to 16 hours. So they can actually fast a little less than women and still maintain their weight. And it has something to do with metabolism. They have larger muscle bulk. And for me, and this is not something that discriminates women. For women who are listening right now, don't worry. If you want that, you can actually achieve that as well. You can also do shorter fast and still maintain your weight. But before you do that, you have to invest on muscles first. So if you must, or if you want to, you can do some exercises intended to grow some muscles, to increase your muscle bulk, because muscle bulk can increase your resting metabolic rate. So that is when, even if you are not moving a muscle, even if you are not doing anything, your muscle per se will keep on needing energy, and that's why the resting metabolic rate, or the resting metabolic rate of males is quite higher as compared to females. And mind you, muscle bulk, increasing your muscle mass, doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't even happen in a week, but it starts somewhere, and if you want that, you can start anytime soon. So the first thing that you need to do if you're already plateauing is make sure you find your sweet spot. If ever you are still gaining, if ever you continue to gain, so maybe you can increase your fasting window, or you can lessen your food intake. As long as you are fat adapted, you are okay, because your body will just eat the extra fats in your body. You no longer need to do strict keto the whole time, because once you are fat adapted, your body will start burning your own fats. So don't worry about that. And of course, if you feel like you're not really losing any weight, but you feel like you're feeling good and great, so actually you are good, so you just have to stick with that. But if you continue to lose weight and you don't want to lose any further, or else you would be on the skeletal beauty side, that is already like skin and bones, but still on the normal BMI. But if you're already going to the lower spectrum of BMI, that is already categorized as undernourished, then you might want to make your fasting window a little shorter. So that is increasing your eating window. So say for example, if you've been on 18.6, then you can lower it down to 17 or 16.8, and do it consistently for at least 2 weeks for you to see how your body works, okay? Or if you don't want that, you can do an alternate, like this day is 18 hours fasting, the next day is 16, the next day is another 18. Another way for you to address that is to maintain your eating window, because there is a lot of benefits from fasting, autophagy even, especially when it's 18 hours and above, 24 hours even. It's so good, it's so beneficial, not just on weight but on overall health and wellness, especially with your brain functioning and how your other organs get to be cleansed, like change oil, like a total overhaul. It's like a maintenance checkup for the cars. If you do that, you can continue to stick with your longer IF schedule, but you can lessen your food intake, say for example on the amount or its composition when it comes to carbs. So for example, you've been on a liberal carb intake that is around 50 grams of carbohydrate. You can lower it to 40 grams, 30 grams, and up to 20 grams of carbohydrate intake. Or you can just continue what you eat, but this time you can check on whole foods. Whole foods meaning more natural, more organic, less processed food. So that is something that you can do. And if you want, you can continue doing so without worry. And sometimes, as what we said when we started this, weight is not the only thing that matters, because sometimes you might be afraid if you're exercising and you feel like you are gaining weight. But don't worry, because that might also be muscle bulk starting to increase. That's why we recommend, once you've reached your goal weight and you've maintained that weight for quite some time without changing anything, and by the time you start doing some workout, whether it's gym or it's just in home exercises, you can already start reducing your times or even ditching the weighing scale. You no longer need that. But what you can do is find another gauge of measurements, say for example your waistline or a perfectly fitting clothes, for you to check if you are really gaining like fat mass or muscle mass. Because when you exercise, you might have a false alarm of gaining weight, but it is gain weight because of muscle mass, and that is a good thing. So that's why BMI won't work for those who are muscular or for those who are very athletic, because if you just base on BMI, some men, especially those who are fond of weightlifting, might actually appear as obese class 1 or even obese class 2 if you just base it in their weight. But if you see them, you know it's impossible for them to be obese, because they're very, very muscular, they're very, very strong, and it is not because of fat mass. So if you can also afford a weighing scale that can calculate a body fat percentage, that is also a good gauge, although it's not perfect, but at least you can have an idea. So going back, Ayang Blanquera, 18-6 is the go-to AIF. Yes, same with me. So right now I'm just doing a strict 18 hours of fasting daily since January 1. So far I've fasted for not less than 19 hours. 19, 20, 21, 22 hours. So that's good. Hello, I'm Sumaya. Thank you so much. Don't worry. Okay lang. It's okay if you are late. You know, we can always replay it. But of course, it is such a pleasure and such an honor for me to be here with you live right now. You there watching live as well. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. I don't know, but you have to watch. You can see me 3 times a week now. I can be with you 3 times a week now. And I am trying to sort out my daily schedule so that I can also go live from time to time, and we can make our new routine, and we can invite others as well, especially our loved ones, those who we want to improve their life as well. Because even if I do this, I cannot force anyone to do this with me unless they are willing to do it. So it is something that is conscious, something deliberate, and something of free will to everyone. But what we cannot force them, but hopefully we can influence them, especially if our intentions is just for them. So Eleanor, starting weight 158 pounds. That was November 28, 2018. Height is 5'2". Goal achieved after 2 months. Wow, that is a really, really good achievement. That is to attend our high school alumni homecoming. What motivation! That is really good. So they didn't know that you've gained weight all the while. So imagine if that's what you've been saying. So it's actually safe to say that you actually went back to your high school weight, okay? So kept on losing weight, and with even without exercise, just LCIF. LCIF meaning low carb and intermittent fasting. That was still on 108 pounds. So it was my mother's 82nd birthday yesterday. Wow, ate a lot of cakes and flour cakes. And the husband wanted you to gain a little more weight, but no longer bothered by weight increase, but all the pains I had before are back. Yes, that's why I understand. A lot of people even tell me that they like seeing me, especially my mom. A lot of people are really worried, quite worried with my mom if she looks very thin and sickly. So whenever she tells me that she gets another comment from the people she knew that she looks like she looks ill, or of course she's ill right now, that she looks too thin for her. So I ask her, how do you feel? Do you feel good? Do you feel light? Or do you feel sick? Because if you don't feel so good, if you don't feel light, and if you feel bad with how you look and how you feel, then we can always adjust your fasting schedule. I don't enforce anything to my mom. She decides for her own, and whenever she wants to eat, I provide all the foods that she wants whenever I can. So it's her decision and not up to me. So most of the time she says, no, I actually feel great. So that's my gauge, how you feel. I know our loved ones can sometimes influence us and can sometimes change our habits, even if it's not what we really want. So there are peer pressure and there are actually family pressure on what you do. But I hope you get to balance it with knowing yourselves more, and know it more academically speaking. You know how to defend this way of life that we do, so that you don't let them worry as well. Sometimes they are worried because they think you don't know what you're doing. But if you know the science behind it, if you know well how this works, you can explain it so well, and you can also provide them the peace of mind, and hopefully you can also influence them with this way of life that we chose, the low carb and fasting lifestyle. So yes, so just like what happened to Eleanor, she said she tried eating carbs, and it's okay for her to increase her weight because actually she is already on the lower normal BMI, so maybe around 19, BMI of 19. So you can actually, normal BMI is around 18.5 to around 24 or 25. So it's actually a large spectrum, and it's about 10 to 12 to 15 kilograms of difference. So you can actually look a little heavier but still considered as normal BMI. So as with Eleanor, she said she doesn't mind to gain weight, but see, you already experience all the aches and pains. So that is the importance of health kicking in. It's not just about the weight. It's not just about how you look, but how you feel, more importantly. So all the pains I had before are back. Upper back pains, joint pains, plantar fasciitis, need to feel better. That's why avoid carbs again. So yes, avoid carbs, or as what we always say, you can just fast on it. So that's why I have a limit of 18 hours, a minimum fasting schedule of 18 hours daily, because the half-life, or the time that our insulin retains in our system, in our bloodstream, the insulin can stay there, its effect, up to 18 hours. So I would like to make sure that my insulin resets to its normal baseline level each and every day. That's why I stay with at least 18 hours. And of course, my dearest Tita Joy Ann, if your body is already used to 20 hours fast, if you switch to 18 hours a day, is there a possibility you will gain weight? Yes, there is a possibility, because our body can have a lowered set point, and that's why they say that it's like lowering your metabolism. And sometimes you can hear it in a way that it's negative, but actually it is just nature's way for your body to become more efficient. You've been used to 20 hours, so your body will used to have that as fasting. So if you want to shorten it, you can just try it yourself and see. Maybe you can just shorten it a little to not 18 directly. Maybe you can just shorten it to 19 hours at first and see for yourself. But make sure that if you lower your fasting schedule, you also don't change your eating habits, so that you won't have any confounding variables, so that you'll know really what to adjust next time. You don't adjust your fasting schedule and your eating composition, your food composition at the same time, because it might give you a confusing result. So you will never know which ones to really adjust. Is it your food intake, your meal timing, or your fasting schedule? So if you want to change, if you want to see for yourself how to maintain, if you're gaining or increasing or losing weight, you can check for yourself and adjust it one by one. And as what I always say, if you need to adjust, try to adjust first your fasting schedule or your frequency of your eating, and you make addition of carbohydrates the least, because addition of carbohydrates will instantly make you heavier, although it's very transient, although it's very temporary, but it can make you gain weight as heavy as 2 to 3 kilograms overnight, because carbohydrates will have that water retention effect. And although as soon as you get back to low carb eating, you will just shed it off. But I'm telling you, you won't feel really good with all that extra 2 kilograms of water in your body. Once you get used to fasting, you know for yourself that your body will search for that cleansing feeling, for that detoxification feeling, and you know you will not have any choice but just to hear it, or else you will go again into that vicious cycle of poor health or feeling unhealthy and feeling not so good within yourself. So I hope that's quite clear. I hope I get to answer your question. Sharon Roldan, yes, how we feel, not how the unbelievers feel. Yeah, very, very true. So, as what we say, no, we may not be able to force others to believe in what we believe in, but we can always influence them. And the best way to influence them, especially this good lifestyle, is to become the models ourselves, to see for themselves the results. No, you no longer talk about it, but you can just show it, and eventually they will see it. Catherine's Ann, hello, what can you say about the ruptured I think she deleted her comment, and that's okay. Definitely did that. Thank you as always. Very much welcome, Tita Joy. And with Eleanor, of course, I have to go back to her comment. All the pains I had before are back. Upper back pains, joint pains, plantar fasciitis, all of these. So whenever we have these aches and pains, sometimes you don't know where it's coming from. You might not understand where it's coming from. Like my aunt, no, I'm not sure if you're watching, Tita Ging. She just told me she had lower back pain, and since I know she is practicing her low carb and fasting lifestyle as well, but I didn't ask. But what actually I want to ask, just be honest. What did you actually eat the last 2 days, the last 3 days? Are you sure you are cleaning? You are on clean diet, meaning you are on clean low carb eating the past days? Because if you will really just be honest, I really doubt that staying to your fasting schedule and staying to your low carb diet, your low carb nutrition, can have that effect of aches and pains. Unless, of course, you already have a pre-existing condition. Like, for example, like with my mother, even before we did low carb and fasting lifestyle, she already had gallbladder stones. So, gallbladder stones and sometimes colic pains, like stones in the kidneys, renal stones, it can also manifest as back pain. So, of course, I wish it's not the same for you. I hope it is just transient inflammation brought about by carbohydrates. And I hope, of course, those carbohydrate is worth it. As I understand, you ate a lot of cakes in celebration of your mom's 82nd birthday, and it's something worth celebrating. It's something I can always agree on. I do that most of the time, and with what we have right now, we are actually going to celebrate life more, because you know, anything, anytime, anything can happen. And I hope we get to savor that. Whatever you choose, whatever you decide, at least you know what's happening, at least you know what it does to your body. And even if you gained a little weight, you now know how to get back. So it's just like at what we say in medicine, it's a step up or step down method. So you know, it's either you can step up your fasting window, or you can step it down to shorten your fasting window. If you are continue losing weight, you can step it up, you can make it further, you can make it longer if you want to continue losing more weight, or you can just adjust your food intake. So that's good. Rhea Salamanca, Doc, dry fasting, can you summarize the benefits or kung ano? No idea masyado. So dry fasting, usually I do dry fasting on a day-to-day basis. So for example, if I do, what I always do is 18 hours of dry fasting. By 18 hours, I drink water. I don't eat right away. Maybe if there's food, I wait at least an hour to break my fast. So usually I have my dry fasting window for 16 to 18 hours on a day-to-day basis. It's like dry fasting will make your body move into ketosis even faster than you will do in water fasting. So dry fasting, in summary, the benefits that you can get with dry fasting will be similar to water only fasting. It's just that with dry fasting, it will make it faster. But dry fasting has a limit. It is not sustainable in the long run, meaning you cannot do it more than 7 days directly, or more than 3 days directly without any preparation, without any practice. So but dry fasting on a day-to-day basis is okay. It's like you will have two fasting windows, dry fasting window and water only fasting window. So like as for me, I usually close my eating window, say for example at 7 in the evening, but I still take water until 8 in the evening, and comes the next day, I may be able to eat as early as, I may be able to drink, I allow myself to drink as early as 11 in the morning or 12 in the morning, and I eat food, real food, by 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So dry fasting will make the benefits of what we already know when it comes to fasting per se, even with water fasting, clean water fasting, which can also add tea and coffee if you want to. But with dry fasting, it makes it faster simply because your body will no longer just force to use the fats for energy, but it will also force your body to eat the fats, to digest the fats, to metabolize the fats, to form water, because you can create your own metabolic water coming from fats. So that is why dry fasting is also beneficial, and something that I also believe should be incorporated in a day-to-day basis. And it's something that we actually do, because seldom do we get up in the evening just to drink. If you are doing that, you can actually do yourself better, do yourself good if you no longer drink water at least 2 hours, or if you can make it 4 hours before your bedtime. You can give your kidneys some rest, and you can just drink your first water maybe by the time you wake up, or you can even delay it as long as you can. At first you will really feel thirsty, but eventually you can learn to adapt to it, just like we always do. We are very, very much adapted. We are very, very capable of adapting to many circumstances that we might feel like impossible to overcome, just like dry fasting, because they say if food is addicting, water is even more addicting, but it has to be with caution. So I'm talking about dry fasting here for those who are already experienced fasters, but not for first-time fasters. It can make you dehydrated. It can lead to an emergency, especially if you are not used to it. Especially if you've not fasted at all, like first 24 hours or 48 hours of water only fasting. So it's if you want to know everything about it, I made a YouTube video specifically for dry fasting. You can watch that, and you can also, if you can, subscribe and ask your friends and family to subscribe. If you're tired of explaining our way of life, you can just tell them to follow my page in YouTube and my channel and subscribe them. And you can just, a lot of the, although it's not everything, because not all of our episodes are already in there, but a lot of basic knowledge, especially for beginners, are already there and are already quite helpful. So Ross Castillo break does water and salt break a fast? How about coffee and stevia? Water and salt, no, don't break a fast because it's not containing any calories and it's not sweet tasting. So what breaks a fast usually is either calorie containing, it has calories, or it tastes sweet. So stevia will break a fast because it tastes sweet. But if you are just talking about ketosis alone, it might not break ketosis. So you might still be in ketosis. Its insulin effect is minimal. Okay, but if you are fasting, say for example for autophagy, for the benefits of autophagy, like to heal a cancer or to improve your mental processing, to increase your clarity and focus, you might want to make sure that you are fasting as clean as you can. And by fasting as clean as you can, I mean dry fasting or water only fasting or water with electrolytes only fasting. And if you can't do that, yes, you may also incorporate plain tea or plain black coffee without anything. And if you really can't do that, so it's up to you. As what I always say, we are always pro-choice, as long as you know your choices and you make a sound and educated decision. So Rhea Salamanca going 4 months on LC, on low carb, and 2 months on IF. Wow! And I hope you get to have that anniversary on low carb and IF, and you get to celebrate that each and every year, since this way of life is really, really sustainable. Sharon Roldan, I will follow your YouTube doc after this. Thank you so much, Sharon. I haven't checked my YouTube channel for a while, but I think I've had a few videos there. So if you haven't checked yet, you can check on them and watch them there. And 9 liters of water, that's too much. 9 liters of water. Actually, the limit is just 6 liters of water, and you can already damage your kidneys. So you now, because 8 glasses of water is only 2 liters. Okay, 8 glasses of water is only equivalent to 2 liters. And actually, that kind of practice is now something that is not really backed up by science. And what we now know so far from our research and readings is that the need for water will be very much dependent on your activity and your food intake. If you are eating too much, especially with sweets and carbs, you might need a lot of water to digest that, to dilute that, to process that, or else it can manifest as sore throat or an upset stomach or indigestion. You need water. And if you are exercising very much, you are working in a very humid condition, that you are sweating profusely, you might need a lot of water. But if you are not doing all that, you are staying low carb, and at the same time you are in a ambient atmosphere, not sweating all the time, what you actually need, what an average person actually needs, is just about 5 glasses of water. And we noticed that when we started dry fasting, our water intake that made us satisfied, that made us quench our thirst, is actually no more than 6 glasses of water. And by that time, we already closed our water intake window, and we are okay, we are good. And we never felt any better. So 9 liters of water, that is actually quite too much. Rule of thumb, drink when thirsty. Yes, drink when thirsty, but also you might want to know why you are thirsty. Sometimes, like for example, I did a 3 days dry fasting. So I've had this transient episode of thirst, but I understand that that thirst might just be habitual. So I was able to surpass that 3 days, and just like water only fasting, the sensation of thirst, it's the same way as hunger pangs, that disappears after a couple of minutes. So thirst is something that can be subjective. as long as you know you still have, you've not drained yourself, you've not been dehydrated, you might want to make sure that whenever you take in water, you take in sips, not really one glass at once. So it's better to take in sips of water from time to time than liters of water in one sitting, because you will do your kidneys more damage if you just let it strain one bulk of large mass at once. Okay, so 6 liter gallon gauge water. So okay, so 6 liter gallon, so that's actually quite too much. You finished it in one day only. I know. I have a friend who's been very, very dependent on water and can't really. She is always saying that she can't live without water. But as what she when I opened dry fasting about her, slowly she started with 12 hours of dry fasting and increase it to 13, 14, and now she can survive with 20 hours of dry fasting, just like her usual IF schedule. So it's something that you can also start. And even if you are drinking that much, you might not get any more benefit than you get from 2 liters of water, or even less, except for additional free time, because you will tend to not go to the bathroom as often now. So however, that's already our time. It's already up. I hope you get to learn something from this episode. If you wish to know more, you can just continue to follow my page. You can share this to our loved ones, and of course we would like to greet some of our partners again in Youth TV Network. So in Youth TV Network, Youth Outreach United to Help, we have partners in different countries. I would like to say hi to Geraldine Govender in South Africa, Greshni in Sri Lanka, Rasmi Rai in Scotland, Dr. Ram Krishna Shah in the USA, Dr. Vera Prasad in India, and Mauna Shah still in India. Thank you so much for joining me with me, guys. And Yang, during my periodical EFs doc, I usually dry fast, no water on the first day. Yes, same here. Dry fasting on the first day is really making making extended fasting a lot easier. I realized that the suffering I feel for the first 3 days will be shortened if I do dry fast on the first day, and the second day would already feel as easy as it is like when I do water fasting on the 4th day. So that is how it works. And the discovery of dry fasting made me no longer have the need to do extended fasting more than 3 days, because the benefit I get from 3 days of dry fasting was already equivalent to like 5 or 7 days of water only fasting. So if you want to know more, don't do it haphazardly. Do it with the right knowledge. Do it with the right preparation. It's made a YouTube video about dry fasting. You can check on it. You can follow my YouTube channel. Joe Laksama, hello. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you get to replay this video from the start. And of course, Sir Ronnie, thank you so much. I hope to meet you someday soon when all else is good and COVID and the policies will be lightened up, so that we can travel more and explore the life that we have now with many people. And lastly, Mar Vincent, our body is smart, sips of water is good, plus our body can break down water from our fats. Yes, that is what we said just a while ago. It's called metabolic water. It's the purest form of water, the real H2O, hydrogen and oxygen molecules made by our own body from our fats, processing it, and you can get for every 100 grams of fats, you can create 110 ml of water. Isn't it amazing? So that's good. Well, for example, if it's just carbohydrates or glucose, per 100 grams of glucose, you can just make 55 ml of metabolic water. So it's not sustainable. So it's really, really good that our body stores fats as a storage form of energy, because it can be converted into energy through the form of ATP, ketones to ATP. It can be converted into water by producing metabolic water. It can even be made into vitamins and minerals, and of course hormones. Our hormones, our estrogens and testosterones are all made from fats. So fats is a good storage form, but we have to make sure that we don't have so much of that, because too much of everything is not good. So we are already past beyond our time. I will not take so much more of your time. I hope I see you again next Friday in Global TV Network and here in my page. This is your Diet Doctora, Dr. Josephine Grace Rojo, and I would like to say, as always, fast as long as you can, and if you do eat, you stay low carb so that you will stay safe. Thank you. Bye bye.